G'day guys, we are the Brisbane Brothers.
I'm the Clevo King.
And I'm the RC Master.
Together,
We are the Brisbane Brothers.
these are our 3 channels, guys. Get on board, check them out. For those of you that don't know, this is what we're working on here today, guys. We're doing a roadkill style camshaft, timing chain lifters, valve spring swap on a 351 Cleveland. This engine is for a car we're building on our channel here, guys. Check it out. So, what do you reckon?
Did you say camshaft swap?
Yo, camshaft swap. From a little one to a big one.
Big one. Lopey idle. We're talking, you know, that idle that makes the soft can go flat when you got an open drink.
We're gonna crank this baby up, guys. She's gonna be from about 250 horsepower to about 400 when we're done with her.
Double.
We're gonna make a whole series of videos along the way. Get on board. Thanks, Dan, for being the cameraman, helping me out. Check out his channel, guys. Phew! Got a different video I've got together for you today, but first of all, I want to give a quick shout out to my good buddy Brian Carson. Thanks, man, for sending me this shirt. You're a legend. I really enjoy chatting with you about cars. It's a really cool bloke. This video, my brother's joining me, Dan. He's in a couple of my other videos. He's going to do a bit of camera and a bit of hands-on. Guys, the job we're doing today is actually for another YouTube channel that we're working on together called the Brisbane Brothers. Make sure you check it out, then you'll see why we're doing this. What we're going to be doing is fitting a crane blue racer cam, hydraulic flat tappet with new lifters, valve springs to suit, and new timing chain set. If anybody wants any stickers, hit me up, shoot me a message on Facebook. I've got a whole lot of these little ones here that I can mail around the country quite cheap. And any of my mates that are local, or anyone that I filmed a car or whatever, if you want one of these big ones, let me know. I've got a couple heading out to you, Brian. Before I get too far in this video today, I just want to have a quick shout out, and I want to say congratulations to my mate Tim Halstead with his Drag Boss channel on YouTube. Mate, I can't believe you cracked 1,000 subscribers recently. That is awesome. I love watching your videos. You create some awesome content. Hope you enjoy this video, guys. I'm going to show you a few tips. I'm going to show you like kind of the hard way and the easy way. All of the tools I'm using are pretty budget, basic things. I'm going to do 1 or 2 valve springs with this to show you the helicopter wheel, which is a traditional overhead valve spring compressor, but I've got a little bit of a hack. And then I can use a stud mount, even though these are pedestal heads. So we'll rip a cover off. Now, before I go and put this shirt away so I don't get it dirty, I'll just quickly tell you a bit of a tip. If you look into my socket set over here, I actually have a 1/2 inch socket in here that's separate from that set 6-point. 1/2 inch Taiwanese. I love Taiwanese stuff. This the reason that this is in the kit is just for this one job. I pull heaps of Clevos apart, and I've brought some Clevos pretty cheap because guys have rounded these bolts off and they couldn't get them undone, so they like left the engine. With the 6-point, if you put it on, you'll have no issues.
That is a pro tip, and I can confirm, guys, heaps of bloody jiggy out. So many times we've dropped the cover and we go, that's why. And you see these are all bloody munch.
Because guys have a
use the wrong
12-point and they put it on and it's no good. So you start off with the 6-point. That's the little thing. We'll stop the video here and I'll go and put my shirt away because I don't want to ruin my shirt. Thanks, Brian, once again, man, you're a legend. Alright guys, make sure you smash the like and subscribe and we'll get into it. I'm probably going to break this down into 2 or 3 videos because it's going to be quite a lot of work involved. Thanks for watching. Alright guys, I'm just undoing the return spring over here. Now, the most important thing about a job like this is planning it out and making sure you have everything. Now I've got it inside, I didn't get it out. We've got a Falpro full engine gasket set. We've got a bottle of break-in lube for that hydraulic flat tappet camshaft too. That's quite an important tip. As I mentioned, the 6-point 1/2 inch. The first thing we're going to do, something I've mentioned in my other videos, cleaning up these parts and taking your time is how you get the job good. Nothing good happens rushing. We're going to pull this apart this afternoon. I'll spend the evening cleaning everything up and then we'll come back and we'll just get this video done slowly over a few days so that I can get as many tips into it as I can. You never know what little bit might help someone. It was actually cool. Shout out to one of my mates, Mario, for giving me a bit of support recently about my videos. Someone I respect, he builds really good engines. Mario in WA, thanks mate. It was nice to have that encouraging chat the other night. It's been an interesting journey so far. Been building engines for a while. I kind of wish I started this whole YouTube thing a bit earlier, but the most important thing is to start making videos, try and have fun while doing it. I was a little bit bummed out. The reason we're actually swapping the cam in this engine, I'll show you in a minute if you want to have a bit of a peek here. We cleaned it all up and painted it, and I noticed at the last second that the timing cover weep hole actually must have been fitted in the wrong way or something. There's a hole there and there's actually water leaking out. So instead of just pulling the sump and pulling the harmo, pulling the timing cover and just fixing that gasket, we're actually going to do a full cam swap. One of the steps that we've missed in the video was drop the oil. You know, I think that was 7/8 sump plug. Dump the oil because the pan's going to be coming off. Right, let's get back into these rocker arms.
Drop the oil and then get it out the way.
Yeah, so you don't kick it
There's
over.
a bit of a trap there.
Okay, so once you've ripped all the rocker gear off and laid it all out, what you want to do is, well, normally if you were going to do a camshaft, you would take the carby off of the intake and all the gaskets one by one and replace them all, clean everything up mint, but we're actually swapping the intake and the carby on this engine. So my little tip for that is to store this, don't undo it and break it down into a whole lot of pieces, leave it together, be ready to fit pretty much straight onto another engine if you don't break it apart. So 1/2 inch ratchet spanner on these two bolts in the middle here, on this side, and 1/2 inch over on these two bolts, this one here, and this one here. Alrighty, I'll rip those out, then we'll get a 9/16 and we'll come and we'll undo this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright guys, now all the bolts come out, except for these two in the middle. They'll hit the carby. Now I've got a lot of bolts inside. Generally when you're fitting an aftermarket carby they won't be so high. Just so happens the one we're fitting actually is high because it utilises the original heat riser there. But I've got extra of those bolts inside. So a little tip I'm going to show you is to get 2 rubber bands, or just 1 rubber band like this, and you can loop it around the bolt heads there. You can use this rubber band to hold those bolts up so that when you're taking the intake manifolds out, that those threads aren't grabbing and they'll be right as rain. Now this is a little thing that I learnt, because when you're actually trying to lift this up, if you've got a few bolts in, I don't know whether you know, these ones go on a bit of an angle, those ones are straight, and yeah, you can have a hell of a time. So look, all the bolts are out. Now the safest spot to leave on an intake when you're about to remove it is on this little tang here that Ford provided, with like a nice big suitable flat blade screwdriver. And on the back of the engine you've got one here in this corner and one over here in this corner. Put this one here. There we go guys. Okay, so we've got the back cracked. Now make sure all the bolts are out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't really want to damage the paint here, but I'll just... Okay, great. Kind of did mark the paint, but that's alright. Alrighty. I'll rip this intake off now. Alright guys, so we've undone the bolts, we've done our little rubber band trick over here. The next thing now after levering it is to actually crack it off. So the these carbies are quite brittle, they're breaker light, so I'll get a handle that's not really the carby. Grab the intake like this, straight off. Go and put this aside back here. I won't be going back on this engine. And that's the measure of a man guys. You might think you're strong until you try and lift a Clevo iron intake manifold while being filmed without going... I was
going to say, trying to go further than 90 degrees with your arms on there.
That actually might be reusable guys. It looks pretty good. It's very clean. I'll give that a wash. Have a look. We're actually fitting an alloy intake, so I won't be going back on this engine. You obviously run the paper gaskets new. So,
not too bad in the ports, eh?
Check out my other videos, guys. I show how I fit an aluminium aftermarket intake manifold, so we won't be showing that here. What I'm going to cover here is how I remove the harmo, how I remove the sump, my lifter removal tool, and that's pretty much the next shot actually, guys.
I've seen quite a few Cleveland heads, guys. What I like to look at is I just like to check the casting. Sometimes you end up with like fluke good ones that are like almost straight wall. Sometimes you get that mismatch alignment. Pretty bad. These are really nice. Get a bit of a light shine in there, check them out. Alright, what's next, bro?
This screwdriver with the tip bent. And what you do with that is you spin your lifter around, you hook it in there, then against the head here. Now you're not pulling on a straight line because this screwdriver is not long enough. Ideally, if you use a painter's screwdriver, you can go straight through the hole, but this is the way I've been doing these ones. Gotta just get it in the groove properly.
Oh,
there you go, guys. So I've got.
So what are you basically? Are you just cracking off like the little bit of carbon builds up?
It's the varnish, yeah.
Yeah, the carbon varnish. Yep. And then once you crack that off, bam, it just comes straight up because it's such a precise fit. There's no wear on the lifter bushes. So as I was saying before, if it was a tired old motor, these things just fall out sometimes. You're spinning this thing around on the stand, and you hear this clonk, clonk, clonk. The lifters are falling out. You're like, alright.
But with this tool, look, if you put it on an angle like that, I've really hooked this one good. Just jerk it, jerk it, jerk it. We'll get this varnish edge.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, guys.
It's like a gentle cracking sound as it releases, and just lets go of. There's a little bit of like a varnish builds up on the bottom of the lifter.
Once they're out like that, they should just come straight out. Right, so we've got these lifters out now finally with this tool. Thanks to the old $2 bent tip screwdriver. I'm just keeping all of this in order here, so that when we put it into another engine, that we can put our lifters back on to the corresponding camshaft lobe that they came off of. This is quite a tight one, guys. I'm not sure why it's so tight. We'll have to look into this. Oh, varnish. Yeah, see what we're fighting? Now, this engine's only done a few thousand kilometers, but that bloody builds up there, guys. It's like a layer of steel almost. How much you've got to fight that. We're going to crack the harmo bolt next, so that you lock up the back of the engine like so. 15/16 here onto the harmo bolt. Counterclockwise, crack it loose. Socket. Now my trick is to take the washer off, to put the bolt back into the crank. But a lot of people mess up cranks by putting puller and tip into the crank and messing up the fine threads in there. So don't do that, guys. Now, this is just a really budget harmonic balancer steering wheel puller SP Tools kit. So I'm just showing you don't need super flashy tools to do jobs like this. Let's back this out a little bit. Now we'll just use the straight up and down one here. Go into there, into there. These engines have been rebuilt, and this looks like a original harmonic balancer, but it's in a remarkable condition. There's a few things I'm always looking at while I'm working on an engine, like the seals and other little areas. Okay, so that one's not right as far in. Center this right there. Now, grab the spanner for the back of this. Three-quarter spanner on this particular tool, but they're all a bit different. Now what you want to do is a couple of threads in here, a couple of threads in here. This nut centered on the bolt. Now we'll leave a little hickey on the front of that head, but you can touch it up with paint, and it's much better to leave a little hickey on the front of the harmonic balancer bolt than to be burying that into the crank and to potentially destroy it. Alright guys, let's hit this. Look at that, walking it off, just walking it, guys.
You can actually, yep, you can see it from this angle here.
Now because the washer's off, the hammer will slip straight over the bolt head, but I'm just guiding it with my hand so that when it falls off, that it doesn't get scratched on the inside by the bolt. I'm gonna just walk it off like that.
That's it. Beautiful.
Now I've got a different tool to put it on, which I'll show you later on. Now we're going to put this back in, just before you undo a cam, it's a good idea to line it back up the top dead. So we'll have to crank the motor around a bit. Righty, now we've got a couple of bolts to undo. We're going to drop the sump. The 4 corner bolts on the sump are 1/2 inch and 7/16 all the way along the pan rail. So I'll get the rattle gun loaded up, we'll rip the pan off. I like to use a long extension. Normally I'd flip the motor over, but we might just go it today. Get this little container here for my bolts.
We did previously drain the sump, but there's always a little bit of residual, a few milliliters, you know, in the bottom there. So if you go turning the engine over, you'll get a little bit of drizzle out. It can make a bit of a mess. So we'll do it this way, it's a bit cleaner.
A lot of people don't realise if you remove an engine from a car, guys, and you sit the engine down on the ground at all, you're going to compromise the sump gasket, even if it's brand new and you've just built the engine. The idea is don't rest an engine dead weight on the bottom of the sump once it's been freshly assembled if you plan on using it and having an engine that's not going to leak. The reason is they're cork and they crush. A lot of people over tighten them. These ones are so old and perished. We cleaned the engine up. I'm kind of glad we're going to get in here and do it properly.
It's a very important tip, guys. A lot of people forget about that one. It's only a soft material, and when you place the engine down, you can be putting more pressure on one surface, one side than the other, and you can compromise the gasket, breach
You
it.
should always try and have the engine sitting on the mounts or on a trolley or rags, carpet, like an old tyre, something with a bit of give, so that it's not like sump to concrete. Okay, so we've got all of the little 7/16s out. We'll swap over to the 1/2 inch. Now, my little TPs here, because I like to get them. I'll go diagonal first, because I'm working on it alone here. I'll put my knee under the bottom of the sump here.
If you're working on it alone, yeah. See, guys? So when he's releasing it, he's actually got it supported.
Shouldn't really go underneath an engine on a stand like this, but now we don't want oil going everywhere, so straight off.
Wow, beautiful.
See, there was a little bit of oil.
Yeah, there's always a little
even
bit.
though we drained it. Alright guys, so once the water pump's off, and you've got all of the bolts out of there, I'm pretty sure there's 11 bolts in the water pump. 11, there's 20 bolts in the sump pan, there's 16 7/16s, and there's 4 1/2 inch in the corners, so just be mindful. I like to undo the little ones first. There's a different procedure to putting it back on than undoing them with the rattle gun like that, but before you go pulling on the timing cover, make sure you undo all of the bolts. The timing point has already been undone here because we were in the process of cleaning it up. By doing this cam, as we pointed out yesterday, is this corner here, guys, we spotted. After cleaning it up, it's just leaking there, so we're gonna just get in, fix it properly. Right, so the bolts are out. I like to grab it at the top here, give it a bit of a lever forward.
Jeez,
Sometimes when they're
it's a solid one.
really baked on, you just grab a rubber mallet, which I've got over here. You don't want to hit them too hard that you bent them. Sometimes they need a little bit of a...
Yep.
Sometimes they need a little bit of a bash to get them started. On the bottom here, if you get a good swing through the middle, you can give it a bit of a crack there. So I'm off the dowel on that side now. There's 2 dowels, one's a bit longer. Get it loose on that dowel.
Yep, she's loose.
Forward. There we go, guys. Now with the washer and the bolt on there, see how it slips over, guys? Just want to show you that there is very rarely on early boss engines a big washer for the large armors. They don't fit through there, but guys, I'll tell you, it'll be a long time before you come across one of those. Alrighty, so this is the timing chain set. It's actually a Rollmaster, which is pretty good. It's a bit discoloured, which is funny, and it's a little bit loose. The timing chain that we got in this cam kit the other day, brand new, appears to be like a Clevo. Something pretty basic. Yeah, the Rollmaster chains are non-stretch Iowas, so when they wear in a bit like this, they won't just keep stretching, like that's about it. But like one of these ones over here, the Clevo, we were given it. This is not normally what I use. I've got a brand new Rollmaster inside. We were actually going to use, they're not bad, so we're not going to degree this cam in. We're just going to line it up dot to dot because we haven't got much adjustment. It's only advanced, retard and zero.
Yeah, no, she's no Rollmaster. Master's nice. It's like almost like a fully billet. You can see the billet lines through it. PW looks after us for brand new Rollmasters we get for a good price off them, so we normally use them. But
yeah,
we've got this
thing to do now, unfortunately, is that you have to wind it around to top dead center. So I've got to grab the breaker bar here. We don't have a pointer on, but we'll know there's compression stroke and exhaust stroke, so put your finger in the spark plug hole and we'll wind it around.
Jeez. It's a good motor, eh? Listen to the
Okay, so where's it?
into the comp, you can just hear it straight away.
Okay, so that sounds like that feels like compression to me, so we can undo it here. I like to line it up. Look, this doesn't, it's not super important, but it's easier because the dowel is lined up and down here and the keyway's up and down than fighting it when it's in some irregular spot because you're just in a rush. So line it up, to be honest, because we're swapping it out. Doesn't matter whether you're at compression stroke or not there. But,
it's just a good rule of a good habit.
I like to try and make sure that you're on the right one, but yeah, it's not super important. Now the rattle gun's good, because without just turning and disturbing the engine, now you can just quickly bash the bolt out. First thing we're going to do is get this oil slinger off.
Gee, that's a beautiful snout on the crank, guys. I always look at when I'm looking at a Cleveland.
That's a mint slinger too.
It's just beautiful. Look at it inside. The thread's beautiful, clean. There's no scuffs or burrs in that. There's a little one there, but that's really good, really nice Cleveland crank.
So being a Rollmaster chain, this is going to be really tight. So I'm going to have to go inside and get a puller quickly. Slightly better one than the one I was planning to use. And I've got to go and get something I forgot to get it, which is my really big long bolt that I put in to pull the camshaft in and out as a handle. A lot of guys stuff the bearing up because I haven't got a proper grab of the crank, so I've got to go and find that bolt. If you're if you haven't done a lot of cams before and you're not steady with your hands, what you want to do is actually make a wooden handle to go through that bolt that you're going to screw in, so that you've got something to hold on to. But I wrap a rag around the bolt, and I've just done a lot of cams now, so it's quite easy. You want to kind of center that flex out so nothing's fighting each other. I'll go inside and get a bit of a puller now. This is a 916, so that will be one of the next steps. We'll crack that.
The idea behind the handle, guys, is the cam's quite heavy. You want to imagine you want to be able to pick up the cam with one hand and hold it straight and put it in and out. So you've got there's a bit of weight towards the end. You need a bit of leverage. So the handle gives you a lot more leverage, and you can get it in without knocking the bearings.
Now this is a 916. Little tip that I do with these sometimes, guys, so that you don't lose them. You just stick them over there like that. Now they'll get in the way when you got to clean the gasket later, but she's safe and sound. Okay, what we're gonna do now, guys, because it's a Rollmaster, if it's a factory set, you can pretty much pull them off by hand with a bit of strength. If not, a couple of screwdrivers, not on the bearing ever or the main cap, but against the block, you can actually wiggle it off, and the top set just pulls off when you undo it, if they're Bakelite generally. But what we're going to do is chuck this bolt back into the middle of the crank here for now. There's a 916 here. We'll just do this this up a bit. Now the same way that we pulled that armour off, we're going to put our puller onto the head of this bolt. Now don't ever bottom them out, because if it turns in further you'll probably get it stuck in there, so just like that. Now we want to get our little king chrome puller, 3-jaw. This is a little ratcheting job. It's pretty cheap, pretty easy to use. You get in under here on the 3.
It's amazing how versatile that one is. Might just get it
here on the 3. Get on that bolt there. Okay, where's my 1/2-inch ratchet spanner?
So what he done then is he kept an eye. He didn't want that bolt going any tighter to bottom out.
You see, guys, it's walking.
It's walking. So keep an eye on that little bastard. Oh, yep, she's coming.
Now this chain's stretched, right? So we'll get it all the way
Look
off.
at that, guys. Look at that.
Right.
Wow.
Now that's
it.
upper chain off. Easy.
Gee, let's have a look at this little fella. Wow, this one's little. I love this guy.
What I like to do with this one, you can just put the bolt into the center. You can lock the 3-jaw over into the center of the teeth like this, because we're not reusing it, and just be really gentle here. Bottom this out, just making sure it's not touching any thread, because it's so small compared to this bolt, you know. So just
it's going to be hitting the
mindful.
bottom, yeah, but you don't want to be rubbing along the threads on the way down.
Just showing you guys how to do this.
So make sure it's centered, not to be hitting the wall, you know.
Just showing you guys how to do this stuff roadkill style.
Oh, look at that.
If you're at home, stuck in the garage.
Straight off. It's walking.
Walking.
Oh, it's easy.
There we go, guys.
Oh, what a beautiful
So
snout.
timing chains off.
This is a really nice engine. It's really nice to work on a Cleveland like it in this year 2020 in this condition. This is a really rare find. These blocks, you will see, like when you're looking in the top here, you know, this is remarkable condition. Very good find. It's a minter.
I like to have a bit of a look at these thrust plates, guys, when I'm undoing them. How much wear? Is there any grooves? What's going on? Now something has just nicked it there, but this is a very good one.
Very good compared to
no
some
flat
ones I've
spots.
seen.
Let's check out this side. Oh wow, very nice. Now if you see any unevenness here, you might have to level them up and try and get them flat, or get a new one. Alright guys, so what we've gone and done is found a nice long bolt that screws into the camshaft. There is something good from the old Crossflow 6-cylinder Fords after all. It's an engine mount pin bolt. This is what I use when I'm pulling a cam out. Now I screw it in by finger just like that, guys. See, she's actually floating already. Now if you're doing it for the first time, I recommend putting a piece of wood here, drilling a hole through it, so you've got a really good handle, because I'll explain, the camshaft is only probably 6 or 7 kilos, but the way that you're going to have to support it to get it out of the engine, it's going to weigh about 25 kilos on the other end. You've got to have a really strong hand. So I'll wrap a blanket around here nicely, nice little rag that I'm going to hold on to. Now the other thing I'm going to do, I notice the engine's rocking around a lot before this part of the job here. We want no rocking around, so I'm going to have to maybe move the engine this way a little bit. Just get this wheel up here.
Yep, on that
just
bit
let
of
the
traction.
block steady.
Just a little bit, yep.
Hold it so it stops rocking.
I'll hold the engine with one
Even though
hand.
these stands are rated at 350 kilos, when you put a Clevo on, they rock around quite a bit. You don't want none of that action going, you'll bust a bearing, so get everything nice and level. So this is a backyard roadkill style cam swap. I'm going to bust that down into a few videos, guys. There's a few tips about installing a sump, so that will be one video. This teardown will be one video. Then I'll do a video on putting the cam and the timing chain on, and I'll do another one on putting in the lifters and lashing them. And then there'll be the valve string swap. So we've actually got a fair bit of stuff to cover. Alright, let's grab this camshaft, engine nice and steady. Now, there we go, guys. That was a little bit hard to get off the bearing.
Pretty much as soon as you can, guys, you get a second hand on there to support.
Yep.
Because it's an extreme weight.
Pause when you're at the big bearings like this. You can pause because all the bearings are lined up at the same spacing, so you can have a bit of a rest now. And we'll come back in again, nice and level. Nice and level. You don't want to chip any bearings. You can pause there, come back in, get it over here. They tape up progressively smaller as you get towards the back. Just got to be mindful of those lobes, guys.
Beautiful.
There we go.
Nice and steady does it.
Let's have a bit of a look at what this is. I hope we're not pulling out a better cam than what we're putting in, but
Looks
judging
pretty
by
good.
the valve spring, no. 509. Does that say Crow? Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Oh wow. We knew it was a good engine, no way. So
Awesome.
no way,
Well,
is that
Master Crow cam,
let's look it up, it could be just as
Oh no, the peaks don't look as big, but we
Oh,
haven't
you never
measured them.
know.
It's in very good
That's
condition. So this little Crow cam's going straight into the black block, which will be going into another car. Sweet.
awesome job there, bro.
Okay.
Let's have a look inside here.
Now the rag I used to pull that cam out, I'll just put underneath it here. We'll have the hole. So you guys see this from yesterday, everything's laid out. I've got a few goodies inside. We're probably going to go a totally different way with the reassembly here, but if you were going to use all of this stock
The
stuff,
old buddy Sonny's from the Ute.
if you were going to use this stock stuff, you just want to keep everything to put it back in its corresponding position. Alright guys, what I've done now is spun the engine over upside down so we could clean the pan rails, get them nice and clean. I haven't run a wire brush over them yet, but that's the first scrape. There's no gasket. I was very pleased to find it's a 4MAB crank and it's a fully balanced assembly. Both the crank and the counterweight has extra holes drilled in it, fresh, and see how these rods are machined, rounded on the ends. They're fully balanced rods, so pretty cool. I reckon the next step is going to be cleaning the timing cover up, cleaning up the sump. We've already done the front of the block here, and then we'll do the intake gaskets on the head, and we'll get into the camshaft install. So this is the old cam we've pulled out here, which ended up being a Crow. All the rockers, push rods laid out, because we're probably going to transfer all of this gear straight into this motor here. And this is the new stuff we're going to be fitting in: lifters, springs, timing chain, camshaft just over at the back there, crane, blue racer. Then it'll be topped off with this Holly intake, the new water pump there. We're not sure whether we'll run the original ignition or a later model with a bush. Okay guys, thanks for watching.